Imagine driving down a steep 6% mountain grade with a sheer cliff on your right. You rest your foot lightly on the brake pedal to hold 50 miles per hour. Within 2 miles, your brake pads reach over 600 degrees Fahrenheit. You start to smell a hot, acrid chemical odor filling the cabin. That smell is the sound of your braking system slowly dying. Brakes operate on a simple law of physics by turning kinetic energy into thermal energy. Every time your brake pads squeeze against the spinning iron rotor, extreme friction slows the vehicle down. On flat roads, that heat dissipates into the ambient air long before your next stop. But on a continuous downhill descent, heat builds faster than it can escape. The rotors begin to turn dark red under the intense thermal load. When brake components cross critical temperature thresholds, a dangerous phenomenon called brake fade occurs. Extreme heat causes the chemical bonding resins inside the brake pads to vaporize. This creates a thin layer of superheated gas trapped between the pad and the rotor. The pad literally hydroplanes on a cushion of gas, dramatically reducing friction regardless of how hard you press the pedal. If you keep pushing, the secondary phase of thermal failure begins inside the hydraulic lines. Brake fluid absorbs moisture over time from the surrounding atmosphere. Superheated brake calipers transfer extreme heat into this fluid, boiling the microscopic water droplets into vapor pockets. Because gas compresses while liquid does not, your brake pedal suddenly drops straight to the floorboard. This catastrophic failure is completely preventable using a single selector on your shift lever. Next to drive, almost every automatic vehicle features a position labeled L2, or a minor sign. Most drivers treat this setting like an obscure emergency feature they never touch. In reality, it is your primary defense against mountain brake failure. Shifting into low fundamentally changes how your vehicle manages energy on a slope. When you select L, the transmission control unit forces the gear set into a low mechanical ratio. Instead of cruising in 5th or 6th gear, the transmission locks into 1st or 2nd gear. This forces the driveshaft to spin the engine at much higher revolutions per minute. The car is no longer using hydraulic fluid pressure to slow down. It is using the mechanical resistance of the engine itself. Engine braking works by turning your internal combustion engine into a giant vacuum pump. When you take your foot off the accelerator, the throttle valve snaps shut. The pistons continue moving down inside the cylinders, trying to pull air into a sealed intake manifold. This creates a powerful vacuum, creating heavy mechanical resistance against the crankshaft. Every rotation fights against atmospheric pressure to slow your wheels. Inside the engine, compression strokes add even more stopping force to the drivetrain. As the piston rises, it compresses the air trapped inside the cylinder chamber. On a powered stroke, exploding fuel pushes the piston back down with immense pressure. But during engine braking, no fuel is injected, so the compressed air acts like a tight mechanical spring. The energy required to compress that air steadily scrubs speed off your drive wheels. Many drivers panic when they hear the engine roar up to 4,000 RPM without pressing the gas. It sounds like the engine is straining or wearing itself out needlessly. However, modern engines are fully engineered to spin at high RPMs under zero load without damage. In fact, spinning high with no combustion generates far less stress than accelerating hard onto a highway ramp. The engine is simply air cooling itself while pumping atmospheric air. In traditional automatic transmissions, engine braking relies heavily on the torque converter lock-up clutch. Under normal low-speed driving, fluid coupling allows the engine and transmission to slip independently. But when low gear is selected on a downhill slope, the computer firmly engages the internal lock-up clutch. This creates a direct, rigid mechanical connection between the drive wheels and the engine crankshaft. No energy is lost slipping through hydraulic fluid. If your car uses a continuously variable transmission, or CVT, low gear works through stepped pulley ratios. Instead of fixed steel gears, a CVT uses a high-strength steel belt riding between two conical pulleys. Selecting low forces the primary pulley to narrow, shifting the belt to a tiny effective diameter. This creates an aggressive numerical drive ratio that holds the engine at elevated RPMs continuously down the mountain. Modern vehicles equipped with multi-speed automatics often replace the traditional low slot with a manual mode. Tapping the shift lever into M or pulling the left steering wheel paddle allows you to drop gears manually. Selecting second or third gear down a steep grade achieves the exact same engine braking effect as a legacy low gear. You control your speed with gear selection rather than riding the brake pedal continuously. A common driving myth claims that engine braking at high RPM burns massive amounts of extra fuel. Drivers assume high engine noise automatically equals heavy gasoline consumption. In truth, engine braking down a hill actually uses less fuel than idling at a red light. Modern electronic control units monitor throttle position and engine speed to optimize fuel delivery continuously under all driving conditions. This efficiency comes down to a computer feature called deceleration fuel cutoff, or DFCO. When the engine RPM is high and the throttle pedal is at 0%, the computer completely shuts off the fuel injectors. The momentum of the vehicle pushing through the tires keeps the engine spinning smoothly without burning a single drop of fuel. You are traveling down the mountain on absolute zero fuel consumption. From a mechanical standpoint, your engine is vastly superior at handling continuous thermal energy than your wheel brakes. Your vehicle's radiator, water pump, and coolant jacket are designed to reject massive amounts of heat continuously into the airflow. Brake rotors, on the other hand, rely solely on passive air cooling over small metal surfaces. Engine braking transfers the deceleration workload to a system built for thermal management. To use low gear safely, you must select it before you begin your steep mountain descent. Do not wait until your vehicle is carrying 80 miles per hour down a mountain pass to yank the shifter into low. High vehicle speeds can force the engine past its red line, prompting the transmission computer to reject the shift. Slow down using your regular brakes first, select low gear, and let the engine hold your speed. Engine braking becomes critically vital when carrying full passenger loads or towing heavy trailers. Extra weight exponentially increases the kinetic energy that your vehicle's brakes must dissipate as heat. A fully loaded SUV descending a steep mountain road can overheat fresh brake pads in under 2 miles. Utilizing low gear takes up to 70% of the braking strain off the friction hardware. Electric vehicles and modern hybrids handle mountain descents through a digital evolution of engine braking. Instead of intake vacuum, electric motors reverse their electromagnetic fields to slow the vehicle down. This process, called regenerative braking, acts as a generator that converts kinetic energy back into electrical energy stored in the battery. It saves your physical brake pads while recovering usable driving range for free. Consider the financial reality of replacing ruined brake components after severe thermal damage. A set of warped iron rotors and glazed brake pads can easily cost over $600 to replace at a shop. Severe brake fluid overheating can also damage delicate rubber caliper seals and anti-lock braking sensors. Engine braking costs $0 in mechanical wear while protecting expensive braking components. Mastering your vehicle's low gear transforms steep mountain driving from a stressful risk into a controlled, smooth process. By matching your transmission ratio to the gradient of the road, you take command of physics. Save your friction brakes for emergency stops and controlled speed adjustments. Shift to low, keep your brake rotors cool, and let your engine do the heavy lifting down the mountain.